morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Neighborish livecast. I'm Super Dave, aka Mr. Incredible, and with me, as always, via voice only, is my co-host. No, it's not. I'm just letting everybody know that she's here. Even though you might not see her, she's here. She's an IT professional and purveyor of love, life, and positivity among throughout the universe. The one and only Aisha Green. How are you this morning?
Hey, David. Good morning. How are you doing?
Let you hear that radio voice. Hey, David.
Hello, David.
That's that radio.
Right. That's right.
Did you have a good week?
I did. It was an amazing week. We no longer have Donald Trump as the president, so that's outstanding.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. Definitely. Yeah. That's good, man. That's good. So that was what made it amazing.
Oh, definitely was. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a awesome show for you today because our guest today is a good friend of the show. She's also a practitioner of one of the most noble professions. As a doula, she provides education and assistance to women and families leading up to and through the process of pregnancy and birthing. Welcome, Erin Clark. How you doing?
Hello again, Dave.
Yes, it's always a good time when you're in the building, or our proverbial building here that we're created.
I'm always happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about today, a lot going on because you're also a teacher, and as you mentioned, the kids are going back to school next week, so it's a lot that we got to get into and unpack. But first, it's a lot of things.
Godspeed.
Yeah, definitely. But first, there's a lot of things going on in the city, in the country, in the world that we need to talk about, and we're going to talk about it right now. I want to start with, like Aisha said, last week on Wednesday, January 20th was, of course, Inauguration Day. Joe Biden and Kamala, I want to say it right because I was in Kamala. It's Kamala. Biden and Kamala Harris were inaugurated president and vice president of the United States. The ceremony was a lot different than a lot of the inaugurations that we've seen due to, of course, COVID concerns and then also security concerns following a lot of the craziness that happened leading up to it. So, but I think they did a good job of keeping everything to a certain extent normal, as normal as possible. I liked how they did the flags. Since they couldn't have the people, there, they put the flags out to represent the folks in attendance. And, it was good to see a lot of the, Obamas showed up. And it was funny to see a lot of people have been talking about George Bush and how he always seems to find his way to Michelle Obama whenever they're in a room together. He always,
the infatuation of white men with black women.
Yeah, it's like it's a thing. It really is a thing, isn't it? Like and I mean it goes the other way too because they talk about black women and black men and white women also. But this is just an example of that other side of that coin. So it's interesting. Before I get into too much about it, I want to get you guys' opinion. I'm start with you, Erin. What did you think of it? Did you get to watch the inauguration and move your opinion?
So I was actually in Mexico.
Okay.
And actually, so I had just gotten back from Mexico when the inauguration happened. I saw the lead up to it. So I saw them like shut DC down, where it just became like a thing where the bridges are closed and this is closed and that's closed. So my personal opinion about this whole thing, I'm gonna channel our friend. So it was crazy to me that we had the beginning of a racial civil war. And then at the end of the racial civil war, we are celebrating this white man becoming president. So it's like, hooray! There's another white man who's president. It's like, wait, what? It just became very interesting to watch the lead up and how we are protecting this white man at all costs because he is our savior. We are so excited.
Yeah.
But don't it's I'm glad that they finally did something about the crazy whites that were coming into the city acting crazy. So thank you for doing that. But other than that, that's all I got.
Okay. All right, we're gonna put a pin in that and circle back around to it.
Fine.
But I want to get I want to get Aisha's opinion. Did you watch? Were you able to watch the inauguration? And what did you think of the ceremony?
I didn't watch the actual inauguration because I was working, so there's that. But I did watch the after inauguration celebration that they had. The virtual celebration. And yeah, I mean, if nothing else, liberals know how to party.
They put on a good show.
Yeah, they put on a good show. I was like, that right there is why, because I was teasing my mom. I was telling her, I said, if this was like Republican driven, you would have heard "We're Coming to America" about 100 times, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. Yeah, they love that song. You heard that about 6 times. I said, but that's why you need the LGBTQ community and people of color, because we add all the flavor, all the zest, all the joie de vivre to everything we touch and do. So yeah, kudos to liberals for letting brown
What
people.
I will say, definitely, those peacoats. Ooh, if you didn't go out and buy a peacoat after the inauguration, you didn't do it right. Like,
oh yeah,
Michelle, Jill Biden, they all had like tailor-made peacoats made for this thing, and it's like, where y'all getting these coats from? I want one.
Marshalls. They get them from. Ross. They get them from. No,
you can't buy these coats at Marshalls. I watch the designers make them. Like these are not like you can't get these coats in Burlington. They're not
right.
Yeah, they're not in Burlington.
They're not there. That deep wine coat that Michelle had on, honey.
Yeah. And they were saying that the purple was supposed to be indicative of the blending of the red and the blue, kind of like getting away from the division that's been, pushed upon us for the last 4 years.
Well, that division didn't just start 4 years ago.
Well, I mean, but more heavily, you can't say
people were emboldened. That's all.
That's what it is. Definitely.
The division's always been there, and there's that.
It's just been pointed out a little bit heavier.
Right. So we can't talk about the inauguration and not talk about the star of the inauguration, Senator Bernie Sanders. Yeah, so his meme, and they've been memeing him to death, man. They had everything from sitting with the Sopranos to sitting with the Seinfeld cast to sitting with the Wu-Tang Clan to everything. Some of the memes are really funny. Some of them a little abstract, and I'm like, but some of them are really good, really well done. And Bernie's a genius. Like he took the meme, put it on a sweatshirt, sold it for $45, sold out in the first 2 days, and took all the proceeds and gave it to Meals on Wheels in the state that he's the senator for. And so that's kind of dope, and that's why people love Bernie. He's a smart, awesome dude. I feel like he was sitting there thinking, I still should have been the nominee. It should have been me. But
yeah.
What did you say, Erin?
Yeah.
He was sitting there thinking, I don't really rock with y'all. I don't want to be here.
Oh, really? You think he ain't want to be there? Right?
He had a look on his face like, I'm here. What do y'all want? I showed up. That's all I got. Right. All I can give you.
Showing off the mittens. They had a.
So a woman, like I think Vermont, made those mittens for him.
Right. Yeah.
And I gave him the gift, and he's been wearing them for like 3 years. Quintessential Bernie.
Quintessential Jewish person. They like really,
Bernie is about that life. Like Bernie, he's about that, climate change, saving resources. He's real about it. Like he's not going to show up in some fancy suit.
Right.
He came in his mittens, his regular pants, and was all right. I'm here.
Yeah. I saw one meme where they had him sitting in the tub with Prince on the Doves Cry video, and he was like, "Dig if you will, my mittens," and that was that. Like for me, that was the one. That was the one that won it. Between that one and the Wu-Tang one. So yeah, I wanted to also talk a little bit about we lost some pretty significant people in the past week. Veteran talk show host and interviewer, legendary interviewer Larry King passed away. His show Larry King Live was on from 1985 to 2010 for 25 years. It was the longest running talk show, the longest running show that's been hosted by one person. He passed away on the 23rd of COVID. He did some pretty legendary interviews during his career. People like there's the memes of him, or the videos of him interviewing Seinfeld when they went back and forth. One of my favorite that's kind of underrated was Cat Williams, because Larry King really had a way of bringing, like, of getting to the soul of a person, really expressing who the person was. And he really did that well, I think, with Cat. In the midst of all his craziness, he did this interview, and his true wit and comedy. I think Larry King had asked him, he does these questions that he always asks, and one of them was, if you're stranded on a desert island with with only one person, who could it be? And he was like, a good swimmer. And I was like, that's hilarious,
Best
So
answer ever,
yeah, definitely.
Did you post that? Because I reposted it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I saw. Because I was like, I saw it on your page, and I was like, this is hilarious.
Hilarious, right? Yeah. So yeah, man. He and I'm sorry, what did you say?
The cat looked good. He looked like he was, sober.
Yeah, at that time, at that moment, because I've seen some other interviews where he was looking kind of rough, but he's a funny dude, and like I said, Larry King really showed that side of him. One of the people who we've had on a couple of times, one of my good friends, Brian Birch, who's a videographer for CNN, worked with Larry King, and he posted the day that he left his show in DC, and he showed them taking down the set and all of that, and how he was there and stuff, and just talked about how immensely talented Larry King was at his job, and how it was good working with him. So interesting white dude who passed away, and also, of course, baseball legend Hank Aaron, Henry Louis Aaron, was American baseball player, right fielder, who played 23 seasons in Major League Baseball from 1954 to 1976. 21 of those seasons he played with the Braves, who were both in Milwaukee and Atlanta. He currently holds records for the most All-Star selections, which is 25, and shares the record for the most All-Star games played in, which is 24. He shares it with Willie Mays and one other person. He also has a myriad of other stats, accolades, and awards, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which was given to him in 2002 by George Bush #2. Remember when the Presidential Medal of Freedom was something that people liked, there was something that had honor behind it, and you couldn't just buy it. But anyway, but yeah, so Hank Aaron, he passed away in his sleep on January 22nd at the age of 86. And I'm not drawing any parallels, but I will say that he did receive the COVID vaccine on January 5th. But he was, like Aisha and I were talking about it before the show, he was 86 years old. So there's a lot going into that. But he did receive the vaccine. And that happened. So go ahead, Aaron.
So you got one person who died from complications of COVID, and one who died after getting the vaccine.
Yeah.
Because I'm a doula, I have to go in the hospital. So I started the vaccine. Like I'm on dose 1. My second dose is in a couple of weeks.
Right.
At first, I was like, I ain't doing that. You won't get me.
Right.
Nope.
Right.
Won't test your medicine on me. But now I'm like, I may need it. Like this may be going on for another year.
Right.
And to avoid, getting COVID or like giving it to other people, because like your odds are getting smaller. So like, I now have, I used to have, friends of friends that had COVID. Now I have friends.
Right, exactly.
My circle of my odds are getting smaller and smaller. And it's like, what are you gonna do?
Right, yeah.
Like, what choice do you have left?
Yeah, I'm still kind of in that I don't want to take it yet boat, but I definitely understand your sentiment. Like I was saying, my girlfriend who teaches kindergarten, she was starting to, like I said, they're talking about bringing the kids back to school. And at first she was real adamant, like, no, I'm not getting in. And now she's like, well, wait a minute, let's think about this rationally as some human beings now, So, Isha, has your opinion on the vaccine changed at all?
So no, not really. Like I definitely understand it's necessary, and it's not a question of if you'll get COVID, it's more so when. So there's that. But so being prior to service, I've done a lot of vaccinations and things that I just pray every day that I don't end up with some kind of foreign object and or cancer when I turn 45. But yeah, no, I'm good on the vaccine for right now. I'm fine.
Yeah. I'm like I said, I'm still like kind of like, okay, I just don't want to be the first. I'll wait a while and see how I look, see what happened. I'll keep in touch with Erin and see how she feeling in a couple of weeks and stuff. No, but yeah, man, it's I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's a scary thing. It's like which way do you go, And like you said, it's getting tighter now. They got another new strain that's showing up in Africa or somewhere like that, along with the new strain that was more spreadable that showed up in the UK, and it's a lot going on. And like you said, we had one person who passed away from COVID, from complications from COVID, and another person who passed away right after taking the vaccine. So, it's still a stressful time for our country, for the world, but, for America, who still kind of leads in COVID cases and deaths. And like you were saying, like we were saying before the show, the world is kind of getting back to normal, and we're still struggling with this, just for some reason.
Yeah, the science. I was reading an article that the scientists are predicting that we'll end up with 500,000 deaths before this is like over, and I don't want to be in the 100,000.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna stay in the house for another year?
Yeah.
Like, do you honestly have another year of staying in the house and like staying away from your people and not seeing your family? Listen. I about rolled on that plane in Mexico so fast.
I hear you. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, because the introvert in me is like, yes, I can stay in the house for another 10 years. I don't care. But there's the extroverted portion of me that's like, no, I can't do that. I got to go out and be out in these streets. But I mean,
I travel, Dave. Like, I travel. Like, I 3-4 times a year, like three times a year, I'm in Florida. Like, I haven't been to Florida. I haven't got my tan. Listen, I'm not an introvert, and it's killing me on the inside.
Yeah, I hear you. So, yeah, man. So, I definitely want to, talk to you some more about the vaccine, the process, and all of that, and how it went. But I do want to, real quick, shout out a couple of people. First of all, today, January 25th, on this day in 1978, my brother was born, and he's my brother, and that's all I have to say. No, I'm just playing. Happy birthday, Ivan. His name's Ivan Johnson. I don't know why my parents named him Ivan. Actually, they named him after an actor named Ivan Dixon. But anyway, he's a good guy, one of my biggest fans and supporters, and I have two in his. He's a mechanic over at Midas on Central Avenue. If you know him, go by there and say happy birthday to him. Just drive by and blow the horn, yell out the window, happy birthday. He'll hear you. He's got good hearing. But
Ivan, got it.
Yeah, what did you say, Ish?
Toot.
His name is Ivan.
He said his name is Ivan?
Yeah, got it. No problem. Ivan.
Ivan. Yep. And he's struggled with that name for a long time. He's been everything from Ivory to Alvin to, how people don't. Anyway, but today's his birthday. I'm not going to say how old he is because he's 2 years older than me. And I like to make fun of him about that. But yeah, happy birthday, bro. Love you. I also want to shout out two people just because I was telling Erin right before we came on that Jay's son stepped away from the Neighborish live cast to pursue a couple of endeavors, including his new music that he has out right now, El Presidente, which is the second part of a 3-part series that he's done, the Jay Son for President series. It's a great collection of music. It's available now on his Bandcamp, and I think a couple of different places. I'll put the links up, but you can definitely get it on the SE3 Bandcamp. Really dope music, really great. I consider Jason a big homie. Like, I look at him like a big brother also, and he was like, he's stepping away. I was a little like, what? But the quality of work that's coming out of this hiatus that he's taking, or this time that he's taking, is definitely well worth it, and I appreciate it. And I'm telling y'all, go check it out. It's really dope. And I also want to shout out my brother, the 151 aka Rakeem, at the Bar Radio every Sunday at 6 p.m. You can go to you can search At the Bar Radio on Facebook, but they're also on every streaming platform from Twitch to Spotify to iTunes to everything. You can find it. It's a dope show. It's hilarious. They talk about a lot of the stuff that we talk about, and also a lot of other things. It's great conversation. It's him. It's a good friend CP3, who's a DC sports aficionado. Like, this dude knows everything about sports in the city. And Lady Antoinette, who's a young lady who works with them also, and it's a great show. Y'all check it out when y'all get a chance. Shout out to my brother, and I call him my brother. That's the homie. But yeah, 151. So yeah, I just want to shout those people out because they're cool people. yeah. So I did get to see One Night in Miami last week. I did get to check it out. Ish, did you say you saw it?
I did see it.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna get your opinion first before I venture mine.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was, it's based upon a fictional conversation that happened between Malcolm and Muhammad Ali and Sam Cooke and Jim Brown. Is it Jim Brown?
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it was interesting just to see their perspectives. Young Muhammad Ali, as far as him and the impact that Malcolm had on him and his decision to become a Muslim. And just those conversations that they were having about where America was, where Black men were, the impact of what they could do and how they were trying to use their platform to further us as a people. I thought it was well done.
Okay, yeah, and I know that this production actually started out as a stage play, and
Yes.
I know, Erin, you have some background in stage. And have you seen the play and have you seen the movie?
I watched most of it like on the beach, but I didn't like, get a chance to deep dive. Making it being a play makes sense. It definitely seems like a play. It definitely comes off as like we could do this in one set play.
Right.
That makes a lot more. That context makes a lot more sense. But what did you think? What did you think, Dave? You never said what you thought about it.
Well, I thought it was, I like Regina King, and I think that she, and I want to get the good stuff out of the way. I mean, and not saying that it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's definitely, I can see why, Rotten Tomatoes gave it such a good score, and it was very well put together. But I definitely see why. Last week, we had a good friend of mine, Ralph Cooper. He's a comedian, and he was on, and he was talking about it, and he was saying this is fictional. And he just kept, pounding that home. It's a fictional depiction of what could happen, and I see why he kept saying that, because it's like, there's no way to know what that conversation. But I think the only one of them that's still alive is Jim Brown, and he's last time we saw him was sitting with Kanye when he went to visit Trump, right? So, but I mean, not saying anything, that was his decision. But I'm just saying, it was I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good way to put it.
I deflected my opinion to you. Did you see that?
Okay, yeah, I saw.
I deflected I was like, nope, not me.
Like I say, as a movie, and like you said, as an adaptation of a play, I thought it was well done as that for what it was. But as the issue that I have with things like this, things like the movie Harriet, things and different things is that when people see movies like this, they take this as a historical document, regardless of how much you say it's a fictional statement, because it's based on real people and real events. And so you have to be careful with the content that you place in it and the intricacies, which you couldn't possibly know. So it's tough to do, but for what it was, it's quality work. I suggest everybody go out and check it out just to support these great actors. I do agree with the assessment that the guy who played Malcolm did a good job. All of them actually did a really good job. Leslie Odom is a monster. Like, I saw, the Hamilton was dope. And his portrayal of Sam Cooke, like his vocal, like the work that he did to match his vocals was spot on. So Leslie Odom Jr. is a beast. And yeah, that's my assessment there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I will always respect Regina King and will never say anything bad about her. So, like I said, I watched most of it.
Okay.
Didn't quite finish it because I was like, okay, I'll do this later. All right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no,
The actors were amazing. Like,
yeah,
the
the
guy who
acting.
played Malcolm X, the guy who played Muhammad Ali, even Muhammad Ali's, I don't want to say sidekick, manager, but the guy who Jamie Foxx played in the
Yeah.
movie, he did a better job than Jamie Foxx.
Well, Jamie did. I don't
He did
know.
a better job than Jamie.
Okay.
Jamie's depiction of him was comical, but this guy did a better job. But
Okay.
that's all.
Yeah, I'll take that. It's tough to watch people do Muhammad Ali just because he was such a he had so much character in life that anybody who portrays him, it starts to feel like a caricature. Like when you're trying to do the voice and stuff like that, it's like, so that's tough. But the guy, he did a good job though, I think, because it's more about how you, for acting, I feel like it's more about how you do it. Though anybody can act angry or upset or the volatile emotions, but when you're just having a conversation, if you can still capture like Jamie Foxx and Ray or Denzel when he did Malcolm X, like to capture those intricate conversations and things like, and still be able to capture the essence of the person. It's tough to do. So, but I think he did an all right job, an okay job. I get a movie overall a B, a solid B. I see your reaction, Aaron.
I didn't say anything.
Okay. No, but your face said a whole lot though.
I didn't say a word. But what I will say, exactly what you said about Malcolm X, is that for me, if you're gonna play Malcolm X and you're not Denzel Washington, it's not gonna work. Like it takes a lot of work for people to mentally get past seeing Malcolm X as Denzel Washington. When he did that, that is Malcolm X. Like
right, exactly.
To people, that is Malcolm X.
Right. And even though he was a lot darker than Malcolm, it doesn't matter. He reminded him a lot, and that's how good of a performance he is. You got past that and quickly too. So. And that's that's indicative of his performances. I still haven't seen his new movie. Is it out yet? Do you know his movie that's on HBO Max?
Which movie? No.
All the Little Things.
I saw the advertisements, but I don't think it's out yet.
Okay, yeah, I definitely want to see that. And just waiting on to see how they're gonna do this next Black Panther that we talked about last week. They announced that they are writing another one to keep the story going, but they're not going to recast the role of T'Challa because it's the same kind of sentiment. It's like if you see that role and you don't see Chadwick, it's like this is a knockoff. This is not the real thing. This is like But so yeah. I don't know if either of you guys. We talk a lot about like the versus battles on this show. I don't know if either of you saw. So I've heard a lot of bad stuff. I didn't because they're not like big artists for me, Ashanti and Keisha Cole, but I heard that it was a tough situation. I heard that Keisha Cole was real late, and she had a rocky situation. Did either of you guys check it out? Ish, did you see it?
I was waiting for Ish to do it. I couldn't.
I think she might have had to step away.
I tuned into it. But they were late. So, like, I tuned in once. I logged out. I tuned in again. They still weren't there. I came back again, and then Ashanti was there, but Keisha Cole hadn't shown up. When I came back, it was 40 minutes later, Keisha Cole was there. She seemed a little off. And that's I was like, no, this is it. I can't do it. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, the versus battles have like gotten us through like this quarantine and like this, and like it's become like a thing that we look forward to.
Right.
Them to just show up an hour late, show up, do whatever. Like, nah.
Yeah.
No, it's like let's until we can find people that we all want to see. Let's just wait.
Right. That's a good point.
There's no need to force a round peg into a square box. Just hold off.
Exactly. So
It would be even singing. Like,
I don't know. Yeah.
You watch
I didn't get to see it, and I think Aisha had to step away for a second. She just texted me. So, but that's cool because we about to get into this interview and get all into your personal life and everything going on with you in your world,
God.
in the world of Erin Clark. So,
That is my name, Dave. Thank you for knowing.
I got it. Yes, yes. I'm not gonna say
whoever that is.
yeah, that other lady. And you know what's funny? I searched it on Instagram, and a whole lot of white women came up, and I was like, none of them are you. And I checked them all to make sure it wasn't you, and I was like, you know, but
I checked them all. White lady, white lady, white lady. Oh,
right.
No, not her.
Right. One of them had a tan, and I was like, oh, nope, that's not her. but sorry.
All right, Dave.
All right. Well, you know, I haven't changed at all. Anyway, but so you talked about coming back from Mexico. So the vacation it was a vacation, right? You just took a break.
It was a vacation.
Okay.
Actually, so right before Mexico, I had a birth, and I timed my vacation that way I could go after the birth because you know coronavirus. So I was at a birth, and then maybe a week later, I got on a plane and went to Mexico and just sat on a beach for 5 days. Literally, like I woke up. So there is a way to go on vacation safely. Don't tell people. Like you can, you know, wear your mask when you get on the plane. Try and stay with people. I flew in Southwest. The middle seat is out, so you may be next to people that you don't know. Like I went with my friends. My friend got a wheelchair, so we got to get on the plane first, and he sat in the front, safely up front. And then you know we get off, get a swim out at your hotel. That way you don't have to go to the pool with the other crazy people. And then go to the beach in the morning when nobody's there, and then go back to your swim out, swim all day, enjoy your day.
Nice.
So when you eat at the restaurants, you eat the ones that are outside.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I came home and tested negative a couple times. Life is good.
Life is good. Yeah, that's the blessing. I know, like you said, a lot of people were worried about, you know, you coming back and what the implications were. But like we were saying before the show started, it's really like the United States that's been like had more of an issue with it than other places. But yeah, I'm glad you had a good time. So I was thinking about you know how the whole outbreak started around March of last year.
Yep.
And now it's January, so I was wondering if there was a spike in business, in the doula business, because I mean, you know, a lot of people have been quarantined, they've been in the house.
Actually, the spike is here. We are here in the spike. We are in the middle of the spike.
Right.
I'm getting a lot of calls for people that are doing June, doing July. I'm like, yeah, the quarantine, gotcha, huh?
Quarantine baby.
Quarantine babies. Quarantine babies are going to be a thing, definitely.
Yeah.
And I will say this to everyone watching. You need a doula.
Yeah.
You do. And people, like, you know, when I interview with people, I tell them the price sometimes in the interview, or I tell them like an email after the interview, and it'll throw them off. And I'm like, I promise you, I am worth it. Just the experience, the difference in experience that you get when you have a doula and when you don't is drastic. I got an email. You know, I can't really, you know, get into people's details, but I got an email from someone who has already given birth and they want postpartum support. And they're talking about like just the trauma that happened during her birth. And now she wants me to like come in and like just be like her sister and take care of her and the baby and, you know, doula her afterwards. And I'm like, sure, I'll do that. If this woman had a doula, her experience would have been totally different.
Okay.
The traumatic things that happened to her, like the respect that the hospital staff gives you is different when you walk in with someone who knows.
Right. You said, yeah. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So hold on, before you get into that, for people who didn't see the show last time, can you explain a little bit what a doula is and what exactly it is you do?
Sure. I'm a doula. Hi. A doula is someone who assists you in the preparation period and your actual birth and your postpartum period. So doulas are full of knowledge. Like we understand how your body works, how the baby is growing. We understand the positioning of the baby in your body. And our job is to prepare you for birth. Now, if you want to do a natural, unmedicated birth Don't say natural. It's not nice. It's not nice. If you want to do an unmedicated birth, we can assist you. You want to do a medicated birth, we can assist you. If you're getting a cesarean section, we can assist you. Because there's so much information that the doctors have to download onto you in the 15 minutes that they meet you. And you're never going to get everything you need to make informed decisions. So doulas help you to make informed decisions when you go into the delivery room and leading up to that process and afterwards. The maternal health crisis in the U.S. is happening because people aren't informed about their bodies, about what's happening with the baby, and women are dying. They die after they leave the hospital because they don't know, like, this bleeding isn't normal, like the fact that I'm in pain isn't normal. Actually, my last birth, there was an issue with pain, and my client kept saying to the nurse, like, hey, I'm in pain, this hurts, I'm in pain, this hurts, I'm in pain. And, they changed shifts. So, the second or third nurse that came in and she kept saying to them, I am in pain. And they kept saying to her, well, we'll just turn this up for you. We'll turn your epidural up, or we'll do this for you. But they never resolved the issue. And it's like, I kept saying to my client, this is how people die. This is how it happens. Because you say to them, I'm in pain. They say to you, you're fine. And without, like, a doula or someone who is, like, informed about, like, the risk of what's going on with you, this is how people die. It happens all the time where they believe that Black women are some sort of strong oxes that can withstand pain forever. And you'll be fine. Go ahead, you're fine.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you brought up a good point and a question that I wanted to talk to you about. We talked before when you were on here about the disparages or the discrepancies in the quality of care between Black and white people, and that conversation has become more critical, has come to the forefront more with the whole COVID situation. Do you think it's getting any better, or is it too soon to say what the effects of the conversation that's come about from COVID has had, what effects that's had on, like, the medical community and how they address the quality of care?
Okay, so do I think it's getting better? Not yet. I think people are talking about it more. I don't know if you know, but Kamala, she is, like, pushing this bill about maternal health, and, like, she's got a lot of different things that she's trying to get done for maternal health. There's also, like, the doulas in America have been trying to get doula care approved for health insurance for years. That's coming. So soon, I think right now you can use your your flexible spending to pay your doula. But it's coming where your insurance will cover your doula expenses, because everyone needs a doula, period. I think the thing that is really helping the people to understand the disparages in the health community, in the world, in the law community, is what happened at the Capitol, where the white people stormed the Capitol and did not get shot. Like, if that had been us, it would have been a wholly different thing. So when you compare that now to the health community, and you have a woman, a Black woman, who is saying to you, I'm in pain, this hurts. And you have a white woman who says, I'm in pain, this hurts, and you want to fix it for her, instead of, oh, you're fine. Like, you can now compare. You can say, okay, so understand this woman is saying she's in pain, but if you were a white woman, you would treat her differently. It's the same thing with this Capitol situation. Like, if these were Black people, you would have shot them dead. You done it before. We've seen you do it before.
Right. Yeah.
These are white people, and you're stepping back and you're going, hey, don't do that, guy. Hey, get down off of there, sir, please.
Right.
Huh?
Yeah. That was that whole situation was definitely, hopefully, a wake-up call to some people. I do feel like that there are always going to be some people, like when you were describing the situation with the nurses, I can see how there will be nurses that say, oh no, I'm just doing my job, I don't treat anybody, because the bias is so implicit and so just like natural that they don't even realize the difference until it's pointed out to them. And even then they'll push back against it and say, well, no, she was not saying the same thing or something of that nature. So it's such a tough situation to, first of all, prove, to even begin to start to make changes for. But like you said, the conversation about it is definitely picking up, and that's where that whole thing starts. So as a doula, and so I was going to ask you, but I see you have teacher Erin behind you. If you're still teaching,
I teach online.
you teach online.
I used to be a teacher in school. I used to work for DCPS. I used to work for charter schools, and right before the pandemic, I stepped away and said, I've had enough. I cannot do it.
Right.
It just the situation in schools needs reform. If I'm glad that we have a new president that is thinking and it's like, okay, we need to reform this system. We need to reform this system. So if we need to reform prisons and the way that people, go to jail, we also need to reform the education system. Exactly. Something's wrong. Like we need to change the education system because it's not tailored for these kids.
Right.
It's not. It's just not. And now that we have, we're going from online to in person and in the middle of the school year, it's going to be a show. And, not to mention, teachers are going to die.
Yeah.
If I was still a teacher in school, I would quit. I wouldn't. People send their kids to school sick.
Right.
People will. Like, these kids have been in the house all this time. Their parents still are working from home.
Right.
So they're going to send their kids to school.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be sick. Teachers are going to get sick. Teachers are already stressed out. That stress combined with whatever, health elements they already have, plus they're COVID, they're going to die.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to be one of the 100,000 people that are left to die.
Right. Yeah. And we talked about that a little before the show too, about the decision to open schools back, and you were saying what, in the next week or so, in the next 2 weeks or so, they're talking about bringing the schools back, and it's a tough decision. It's hard to understand. Well, it's not hard to understand the rationale. It's hard to believe that nobody with common sense is like, maybe we should hold off, like you were saying, until the vaccine makes more of a, more of the rounds. If it's going to do what everyone's saying it's going to do and be, this cure that we need, why not just give it that time? There are a couple of arguments out there about the difference in the ability to learn online and things of that nature, which, I hear it. It's a learning curve, but I think that kids adjust to things a lot better, and are able to pick up things a lot quicker. Like I work in IT, so I deal with a lot of adults who have a really hard time adjusting to working from home and just understanding, like, networks and things of that nature. But I think kids, once you show them, and my nephew is a perfect example, like it didn't take him very long at all to catch on to, even like the processes of connecting to, with Zoom and different things like that, things that like a lot of adults are having a lot of trouble with, So, I don't know. It's
live on screen. You're trying to convince me that kids who live on TV screens or live on screens can't learn from a screen. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you. There are smart boards in every classroom. Like when I was a teacher, half of what we did was on a screen or some way interactive, because that's what they do at home. It's got to be interactive anyway. So you're telling me that they're not learning on Zoom. I don't believe you. I believe it's something else that you're trying to convince me of, because kids are adjustable and they adapt. So they are learning, but for some reason you think that they have to be in the building.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, this is a little off script, but I feel like it has a lot to do with the attitude around school. Like, and for instance, so when I used to work at Safeway, there was a young lady who came in, and she was trained by a person who didn't want to be there and didn't like their job. And so that training, the attitude that she put into training was the attitude that person then had about the job. And every day it was, oh, I hate this job, the people are stupid and all this. And for the most part, a lot of people don't really think, and they do dumb stuff, but your attitude affects a lot of how you perform, and and so I feel like the attitude that uh, adults had toward distance learning. And because before it even really started, a lot of people were, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And I've got to work and all this. And I mean, I think the kids pick up on that. And so I think that affects in a lot of ways the way they take, distance learning and school as a whole. Like I always try to, I don't have any kids, but with my nephew, I always try to present school as like a positive thing, as a fun experience, because, when parents don't treat it like that, it definitely shows in the kids' willingness or their desire to go, to learn, to stay there, to be attentive, to do their best. And so I think that has a lot more to do with it than them not understanding the technology.
Dave, going from in-person teaching to online teaching is a big deal. Like you have teachers that have been teaching for 10, 15, 5, 2 years, and they have been reliant on stuff. So like you'll have your centers, you'll have your worksheets, and you mean people plan out their stuff for the year, and you do the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Now have to go to a digital platform where you need to be the thing. Like
Right.
you don't have anything. You are the thing. Like you are. Like when I went from like in person to you are the thing. Like what kids see is you and how you're animated, or like your props or whatever.
Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
you're the thing.
Yeah.
To go from having things to being the thing is new and different. And who wants to do that?
Right. Yeah.
Who wants to now have to reinvest all of their their money that they use for their students anyway,
Mm-hmm.
into like props and things that
Right. Yeah.
now you to teach kids
Right. Keep them engaged. Right.
to engage. Exactly. You've got to change how you teach and how you think about education, which is what the education system needs anyway.
Right. Right.
I digress.
Right. So, um, so I was gonna ask what you. I guess I'll start with teaching. I'll break it up into two because I mean these are the two professions that you are in. And I'll start with teaching. Like, what do you love about teaching? Like, what do you enjoy most about teaching?
I always say that I love the aha moment. When you have a kid that doesn't get it, and you can tell they don't get it because they're just looking at you like,
Right.
and it's like, then you do something, or you show them something, or you like give them some example, and they go, oh, I did it. Like I that part of teaching is what motivates me to keep doing it. So I teach online. I teach kids in China. I teach kids in China English in the morning, and then in the mid morning afternoon I teach adults in Turkey, Saudi Arabia, the UAE. I have a Ukrainian woman that teach English. Anywhere in the world. I had a Ugandan man last week who I taught English. People in Colombia who I teach English, and it's all about that aha moment, and like when they start to progress, that makes me it encourages me to keep teaching.
That's dope. That's dope. So wait, you know all those languages though? You can speak
No,
all.
I speak English. I teach them English. I teach them full immersion English.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
Using your hands, using props, making your language a lot slower and a lot, more spaced apart, and like curriculum. And I teach English.
That's dope. Yeah, that's cool. And so now from the doula side of it, like, what do you love about that profession? Like, what keeps you doing it?
I love a lot about being a doula. I love the information side of it. I love the relationships that I build with families. So it's like I meet you, and maybe a week later we're best friends. It's
Nice.
great how close you become, because it's a very intimate and vulnerable time having a baby. And like I get invited to like birthday parties, like Zoom birthday parties. I get invited to people's Zoom birthday parties, and I'd be like, I want to come, but I am literally in the middle of a birth.
Right.
Party, because I am still doing this work with another family. I love the community. The community, like there's lots of like Facebook groups where we talk about birth, and we kind of like talk about the things that we see in hospitals and how people are being mistreated and what you can do to prevent that from happening. I love the sisterhood. I'm actually going to a training this weekend in person in South Carolina. Don't get me started. I'm going. It's a really important training about like how babies descend into the pelvis and how to get them to descend a little quicker and the science behind it. So it's a really important training. But it is in person, and I'm going to have like 2 naps.
Right, yeah. You got to double up some time on them.
Double it up.
So you talked about like being a wealth of information for women, and that and one of the most the times when they feel like the most helpless and like they know the least, and so that's a beautiful thing. What are some of the things that you find that a lot of women just don't know about the birthing process? Things that you have to see, though, things that are surprising to them, not just that they don't know, but like, oh, I really didn't know that.
One thing I find that people don't know is that they can say no. So when the doctor comes in and says, okay, so we want to do this, you can say no. You can say no, I don't want to do that. And the doctor, like, at first will be like, what? Like, but you don't have to do what they're telling you to do.
Right.
If you know what's best for you, and you know that some of the stuff that they do in birth is just pointless. Like they give the kids a shot to prevent them from getting HPV, like hepatitis. But it's only if the mother has it. So the only way that the baby can get it is if the mother has it. But they give everybody the shot. Like they do things they do things in birth that are based off of diseases from 50 years ago. And they make it sound like, oh, you need this because the baby could do this, but can the baby really do that? Really? Like, are you sure? That doesn't make sense. So I literally, true story, I explained to a doctor the importance of the placenta and the mother consuming the placenta after birth. It's a new thing that, more people are getting into placenta encapsulation. A friend of mine does it, and like I encourage my clients to do it. They take your placenta, they dehydrate it, they make it into a pill form, and you take it every day. And it does so many things. It prevents postpartum depression. It helps your milk supply. It balances your hormones. I know, Dave, but think about it. I
got a bunch of questions, but I'm going to let you finish.
Dave, but think about it. What animal do you know that does not eat their placenta?
I didn't know animals eat their placentas.
Yes, they do. Animals, and people say, oh, the animals, they eat their placenta because they don't want predators to smell them. No, they eat their placenta because that's what they naturally do, because the placenta helps them to feed and nourish the baby. So the placenta helps them manage your hormones. So like those 2 weeks after you give birth and you're crying for no reason, you eat the placenta, you're good. It gives you energy to keep going because you are exhausted after giving birth. There's so many benefits to placenta encapsulation, and the doctor, as they were putting the placenta in like a container for you to take it home, the doctor says to me, well, what does that do? And I'm like, you don't know?
So there's like medical research out there that talks about the benefits of ingesting the placenta, and so because like you said, dry it and grind it up and put it, you take it in pill form, as opposed to like after the birth, just that.
Body. No one's asking you to grab the placenta and bite a piece of it. No one's asking you to do that. You could. People use placentas, like very wealthy people use placentas like for facials.
I've heard of that. And that's what is it? The stem cells.
They've been using our placenta, like, so you leave your placenta at the hospital and you don't know what they do with it. They just take it and they say, oh, we throw it away. No, they don't. They use it for T cells. The placenta, oh my goodness, the placenta is all the things. It is all the things, and it can solve all the problems. And we just leave it behind, like, oh, we don't need it.
And I know that for
Aisha's back. Hi, how you doing?
All right, yeah, back, David. So I know blood cord banking. When I was in the hospital, 10 years ago or so, that was like a big thing. So like from your pregnancy to save that blood for like if you needed it, because those were like you said the stem cells, and you could use it for like cancer, things of that nature. And I don't know if that's still a thing that they promote.
But no, she said ingesting the placenta is necessary. And
Oh
I
yeah.
was grilling her about that because it sounds like something from a movie that I seen.
No, you should. Like they take it and they're supposed to powder it and make it into like pills.
That's what she was saying. Yeah, yeah. So I'm not saying you're wrong because I know you're the doula and you have it. But this is why people like me, I don't know nothing about eating the placenta. But yeah, that's see, it's little things like that like well, I don't know if that's a little thing, but anyway, it's things like that that like you said make the profession of a doula so necessary. When because it's things that I don't think cause I don't know if anybody who just would naturally think to do that or have the just after the birth just look at the placenta like what
Taking it with us.
delicious.
That's ours. Take it with us.
Right.
I will add that most people should know that the takeaway here, like if you're not ready to take the placenta home with you, that's fine. What you should know is that don't clamp the cord immediately after the baby is born. So one thing that I preach all the time is that when your baby is born, give the cord at least 5 minutes. The doctors will tell you 1 or 2. Give it 5. Give the baby that 5 minutes of being attached to the cord. The blood in the cord. Literally, once it goes into your baby, that is the amount of iron they need for a month.
Wow.
That blood in the cord is the amount, like the nutrients in that cord can prevent so many things. So if you ever birth with a midwife, if the baby's having trouble breathing, or if the baby is like comes out with like complications, they leave the baby attached. That way, it's still getting the oxygen, it's still getting the blood that it needs from the cord and the placenta to stay alive. In the hospitals, I had a situation where the baby was born with meconium, which is like that first poop that come out all weird and nasty. The first thing doctors want to do is disattach them from the placenta. Don't do that. Leave them attached. If they're having trouble breathing, they need the oxygen from the placenta. Like they've been breathing all this time on the placenta. There's no reason to take away their oxygen supply now. Why would you disattach them? So the takeaway, the one thing that people should know, take away from this, when the baby is born, leave the cord attached.
For at least 5 minutes.
At least 5 minutes. If you don't want to do full lotus and leave the baby attached to the placenta until it falls off, that's fine. Don't do that. But at least give the baby 2 to 5 minutes of being attached to the placenta, then cut the cord.
So wait. So you can leave the baby attached until the thing just fall off? How long does that take?
Yes. Even better.
How long does that take?
A few days. The cord dehydrate, and you just kind of have to carry the baby around in this bowl of placenta, and it's very beneficial.
Okay.
We're learning so many new things today, David.
My mind is like exploding right now. Like I didn't see this. It's always a good time when you're in the building. But yeah, wow. So you carry the baby in a bowl with the placenta and everything.
David, you carry the baby, and there is a bowl where the placenta is, and the placenta.
Oh, okay.
So you have to put some herbs and things on it. That way it doesn't smell.
Okay.
But after a few days, the placenta and the cord will dry up, and it will naturally disattach from the baby. There you go.
All right. There you go. That easy. So leave the stuff attached. It's for at least 5 minutes. But if you want to, you can get you a bowl and bring a punch bowl with you to the pregnancy and put everything in there. And I don't know. Anyway, but
get you a midwife and have birth at home.
So yeah. And the last time you were on, we talked about the difference between a doula and a midwife and midwifery, which is my new vocabulary word. But we midwifery.
Midwifery, yes.
But yeah, so what is a midwife?
Yeah, so doulas are not doctors. We don't catch the babies. We don't pull them out of you forcefully. Neither do midwives. But midwives are up. They're able to listen to the baby's heartbeat, diagnose you with, any complications, to diagnose the baby with any complications, and they're able to, give you like they're able to give you the hospital experience at home. There are, of course, situations where you're not eligible for midwifery care because you may have like preeclampsia or like high blood pressure or something, or you're older, you have older maternal age, and you're not able to have a home birth. But most women are healthy enough to have a home birth and can get a midwife to come into your home and give birth at home, like we used to.
Cool. So, before you got into, what did you do first? You did teaching first, right? And then you got into being a doula.
David, I was actually a dog groomer first, and then I became a videographer for the DC government, and then I was a teacher, and now I am a doula.
That's what I was gonna ask about, like your profession. So, you went through a number of professions. The question I always ask is, when you were younger, and people would ask you what you wanted to be when you grow up. Do you remember what you would tell people what you wanted to be?
Yeah.
What was it?
Aerospace engineer.
Aerospace engineer.
Aerospace engineer. I wanted to design planes.
That's dope, though.
Listen, and let me tell it, I was going to be the best aerospace engineer you ever saw.
Right.
I used to be able to hear plane engines and tell you what kind of plane it was.
Oh, wow. Really?
Like listening to like the planes go overhead, I could tell you that's a helicopter, that's a F-15 fighter jet. Like,
my brother could do that with cars. He's a mechanic. He could be like, oh, that's a Chevy. That's a 67 Chevy convertible. We're like, what? How do you know?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then I went to Tuskegee University for aerospace engineering and the physics.
Oh, you really went to college for aerospace engineering?
I was going to be an aerospace engineer, Dave. That was my thing.
What?
I went to Tuskegee and I had a wonderful time. It was a great, expensive hotel, and I really enjoyed it. And when I got to physics and calculus, things did not go so well. Let's just say that. Which is how I moved to DC. I met Jason, and I said, you know what, this engineering thing is not my thing, but this theater thing, this is my thing.
Okay.
I have a theater degree.
You have a degree in theater. You started in aerospace engineering, wound up with a theater degree. And so what drew you to teaching, and then also what drew you to being a doula? Like, what was it that made that change?
Every time I changed my career, I would kind of like just think about like, what is it you love to do? And actually, I have a sister that has Down syndrome, and she would go to school, and the teacher sometimes they wouldn't teach her, so I would be the one at home like teaching her, and I could always find creative ways to reach her and to teach her things. So I realized that like my thing, like the thing that you're good at is teaching. So I said, okay, let's be a teacher. Once I got to that point in teaching where I had enough of like just the administration, people telling me I wasn't doing my job well, and I'm like, but I am, yada, 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 change the education system. I started getting that thought, okay, what is it you have to do? And I'm like, well, one thing that I always have done is, help my friends give birth. So even before I was a doula, I was like, my friends would get pregnant and I'd be there. Like, hey, I'm coming. And they're like, what do you think? I'm coming, trust me. I'm coming. So like, it's always been something that I've loved to do. And, now I can do it as a profession, and I'm trained to do it, and I understand the science behind it, and I have all the knowledge. So everybody needs a doula.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I'm on the promotions board now. I'm telling everybody, you got a doula? Oh, you're not pregnant? I'm sorry. No, I'm just,
there you go.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, you're not.
Well, keep it in mind if you ever get pregnant to get a doula. But so you talk about the wealth of knowledge, and that's such a huge part of what you do. What's something that you learned like in the doula process? Something that either surprised you? Was it the eating the placenta? Was that it? No, I'm just playing. No, but something that you like.
I'm not doing with you anymore.
Right, but
I think one thing that I learned. I think the most interesting thing that I learned about birth is that your body your body does all the things you need it to do for you. So, people go into birth thinking, oh, I have to prepare, I have to do this, I have to do that. Your body does all the things you need it to do. Like, once the baby is ready to be born, it releases hormones. It releases, and that's when things start to separate and open up. Once that happens, the baby starts to descend on its own. As long as it's in the right position. There's so many. The magic of birth is just something that your body knows what to do, and we have gotten so far away from trusting our bodies. That's why we have so many issues and complications with birth. People go into birth being afraid, and that fear actually can stop your labor. So that anxiety, that issue you're having with your partner, it can be something that slows your body down and makes labor last longer. I always tell people, when you're having contractions, relax, because that stress that when you tense up your body, it makes the contraction last longer, it makes it harder, it makes it more difficult. So I train people going into birth to relax. The harder that you relax, the better this will be.
Right.
Because your first reaction is to tense up and go, oh, it hurts.
Exactly.
But if you are able to train your body to relax through a contraction, it is a way better experience. Now, mind you, it still hurts. But it won't be as bad for as long.
Yeah, because the pain is going to be there, but tensing up it's not stopping the pain, and so and it may even be making it worse. So yeah, that's yeah.
So Dave, last time I was here, you were trying to have a baby. What's going on? How's that going?
Huh?
How's progress going? How's it going?
No, we can't look. That was the conversation we had off of air, and we can't talk about that on the air because it's
Let me know when you're ready. I'll be here.
We'll talk. Yeah. We're gonna get to because I'm definitely employing your services. I don't care how much you go. I'll put you on retainer. Right now, $12 a week. I'm gonna hold you services for anyway. I'm sure it's more than that. So let's see. You threw me off of my questions. Don't be asking me stuff about my life. It's personal.
Oh, you asked about my life. How'd that quarantine go? Listen.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, and speaking of that, coming back from Mexico, you did have to quarantine for a while. When people say here quarantine, I think that people get an idea of what quarantine is. They feel like it's a prison. They're gonna come and bring bars into my house and keep me in one room or something. But you're just basically just hanging out in the house, right, and not being around people.
Well, okay. So because I live with my mom and my sister, when I got back, I was in a hotel.
Okay.
Just because probably the biggest risk is the plane, because you're on the plane with other people. So you definitely want to quarantine for at least 4 or 5 days away from everybody else.
Right.
You need a 14-day period. So those 5 days, you'll know if you have COVID or not. So I got tested twice. I got tested right when I got back, and that kind of covered the beginning of the trip. So if I had gotten COVID in the beginning of the trip, and that first test would have said yes or no, and then I got tested a few days after that to cover the end of the trip. So you get tested twice, you save other people, and even after you test negative both times, you still need a few days to just make sure that you're sure. Quarantine is a prison. Sorry, it is. You legit need to stay away. It's if you feel the need that you have to go on vacation, or you need this, you have to be responsible on the back end, and stay away from people, get tested a few times. You still have to be responsible on the back end. And when you're on vacation, when I was in Mexico, the resorts, they test you when you come in. They don't COVID. They temperature scan you when you come in.
Right.
You still have your mask on when you walk in, but once you get to the resort and you get comfortable, people take their mask off. They're at the pool hanging out with no mask. They're outside. It was fine. They go to restaurants, no mask. Resorts have a loose policy with masks. It's only when you go to like the restaurant, like the buffet restaurant, they make you wear a mask in the restaurant.
Right. Okay.
But like while you're getting you're going to the buffet, like while you're getting the food, you have your mask on.
Right.
While you're eating, of course not, but that's really it. So while you're at the pool talking to your new friends from Scotland, no one's wearing a mask.
Right.
So that's why I got to swim out, because I was like, I'm not doing any of that. Like, I'm going to be with the people that I came with, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and you also mentioned that that you got the you started the vaccine process. So you know, with a lot of the people like myself who are looking at it kind of skeptically and kind of, you know, starting to get more understanding of what it is, there's still the whole there's a lot of ambiguity around the whole process. So can you just talk about, like, you know, what you, like, how you did you have to sign up for it and then go, and like what was the process like?
So it was relatively easy. I did it on the first round when they were letting people, health professionals, do it. So I just went on the DC website, like DC coronavirus vaccine website, and it was relatively easy. I chose like the grocery store near my house, and I signed up, and I went the next day. I got an appointment the next day. When I like posted on social media that I got the vaccine, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I went online and it says all the appointments are out," and I'm like, "I signed up yesterday. Like I signed up 2 days ago and got today, so." I don't understand. There are actually two different websites, which is weird because like there's one website where it's like all these appointments have been filled, and there's a DC website where you can just pick where you want to go and thing. And secretly, you know, the government's watching, but secretly they don't ask you for evidence that you are qualified to get the shot. So like I had on my doula shirt and I had like proof that I'm a doula, so they never asked to see it.
Right.
My friends were like, "Oh, you got the shot." I'm like, "Go get yours." Like, go on the website, make an appointment, and go get yours. So like I'm like looking at like the data, and there's disparities in even that. Like the people in Ward 1 and Ward 2 and Ward 3, they're getting their shots in like 7 and 8. There's like the black people aren't registering or getting their shots. It's like they're selling out of these, you know, appointments, and it's not going to the black and brown people.
Right.
And you know, it's I was reading an article about that and how that there's a disparity. But you know, it was a relatively easy process. The woman at the grocery store was interesting. I won't get into that. But you know, you get a shot in your arm and that's it. I will get into it. So
yeah, give us a little bit.
The three of us get the shot at the same time. There was a white guy before me and a white woman after me, and I was in the middle. And she explained everything to this white man. Like, she gave him the rundown of everything. Like, okay, stay in the store 15 minutes after you get the shot. You know, don't do this, do that. Go on the website, make your second appointment. I mean, she gave him the rundown. I was sitting outside, so I heard it. So maybe she knew I heard it, whatever. When I went in, I had none of that. And I was like, you're not going to give me any of the rundown? Like, she was like, okay, well, here's your thing, here's your card. All right, you're all set. I'm like, ooh, girl, okay. And this woman after me, because you know, I heard her say, wait 15 minutes before you leave. So the woman after me, she got the feel too, and I'm like.
So was the person at the store, was she white or black or?
She was Caucasian.
Okay, and so did you? Well, I guess you probably didn't mention it to her. Like, why did you? Well, yeah, that's interesting though.
Because you know, going to these hospitals, I'm used to dealing with these women who don't see their bias. They don't see it. And it's like, I don't have 30 minutes to explain to you. Did you notice that you explained everything to him and not to me? Why did you do that? Oh, well, I just assumed you heard. No, your job is to make sure that people understand the side effects and the risks and the rewards to this shot. That's your job. And if you're having a bad day, it seems like you just explained to him and not to me.
Yeah, and that's so you know, and like I said, the fact that they're so oblivious to their own bias, that adds to the disparity. That adds to it, you know, even I want to say inadvertently on their part. even though it's inadvertent, it's still no less damaging, right? So it's like the person, like, if you didn't hear, what she said to the guy before you, and then you left in 2 minutes instead of 15 minutes, and something happened to you, would she be able to say, well, did you tell her? Did you give her the information? And she probably lied. Yeah, I told everybody. I told everybody that came through.
I told, not tell me, man.
Right. Yeah. That's crazy, and that's this is a direct example of of what we've been talking about. That's insane. Yeah. So, wow. That's like, yeah, yeah, I would have said, hey, why you ain't tell me all the stuff? I heard you did a little more talking with the Caucasian, but like you said, you don't have 20 minutes to try to explain. This is what you did wrong, and this is why it's wrong, and I know you don't get it, and then they'll get defensive because it's a whole thing. So it's tough.
You can't reach people when they're in defense. You can't.
Right, exactly.
Try, but once people have put that wall of defense, you can't reach them. Like the situation with my client, where she kept complaining about pain. It's like, this hurts. Like, usually dudes, we don't get involved. So one thing dudes don't do is we don't advocate on your behalf. So we argue with the knowledge before we go in there. That way, when they say this, you say this. Because you know what's going on. So dudes, we don't get involved. So if you say to the nurse, hey, this hurts, and the nurse says, oh, well, we'll turn your pain medication up. We sit there and go, the third time my client complains, I said, okay, look.
Yeah, you had to jump in.
Figure me out. And when the doctor came in, I said it again. I was like, okay, so the doctor was a black woman. And I'm like, sis. And I said to her, hey, so she's in pain. Is there anything we can do? The doctor reverted back to the nurses. And I'm like, help me.
Right.
Help me. And it's like, she didn't get it. Like, she left the room quickly. And I looked back at the nurses like, you've got to do something. Like, you cannot act like this is not happening. This woman keeps saying she's in pain. Help her. Do something that helps her.
And there's so many mechanisms put in place, because now they can just be like, oh, well, you're being a pushy, you're being an angry black woman, and you just want this help. You want more than we'd give anybody else. No, I just want the same thing you would give somebody else.
That's not true. You ever witnessed white women complain? It is a beautiful thing to watch. Like, they are just, they get so indignant. Like, how dare you?
Right. That's their wheelhouse. Yeah.
As black women, we don't. So we have that power. We even refer to it as like, you gotta pull your white woman out.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, we can't even say we can complain without being perceived as an angry black woman. We have to now pull out our angry white woman.
Right. Yeah, and it's all of these things add to this this discrepancy and like you said, the quality of care between black people and white people. And I mean, it's stuff I don't like this. I don't want to stay on that too long, but it's something that definitely needs to be discussed and looked at in depth. I do want to ask before we move on from that topic. Well, I guess you kind of answered already, but I will say in the doula, in the profession of being a doula, what have you seen like that was just egregious? Like, have you seen anything that was just like, oh my goodness, what do you like? And it wouldn't happen if it was a white person as opposed to. Yeah.
I think a prime example is my client at Pain. My favorite example is another client who, privacy. Here we go. Privacy. Okay, got it. Okay, so. Yeah,
you got to form it in a way where you're not giving anybody stuff. As a matter of fact, you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to. Do you want to move on, or you got it? Okay, I trust you too. I feel like you got it.
My clients are watching, so.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't do it anyway. But so I had a client who before the pandemic, she has a few other kids, and they had a babysitter lined up for when the baby came. The babysitter didn't answer the phone because babies only are born at 3 a.m.
Right.
They only are born at 3 a.m. So the babysitter didn't answer the phone when they called. She was nowhere to be found. They couldn't find her, so they had to bring the kids with them to the delivery room. So they can't be like you can't have children running around the living room. You just can't. The mom can't focus. So the dad had to take the kids into the other room, which means that now it's me and the birthing mom, and that's it. So what the nurses would see when they would walk in was me and a single mom. So the comments, the comments of, oh, what number baby is this? Oh, this is her fourth kid. Oh, this is number 4. So in their mind, they're seeing a single mom of four kids.
Right.
Instead of your husband is in the other room with the other 3 kids.
Right. Yeah.
So there were some comments that came out of his mouth, and I think around the second or third when I was like, okay, guess what? Her husband's actually in there.
Right.
Oh, I didn't mean you did mean. You did.
Right. Yeah.
What you said, you did mean it. And it came out exactly how you meant it and how you perceived it. And if this had been a white woman, you would have assumed that her husband was somewhere away on business.
Right.
Somewhere otherwise indisposed. You would not have, first of all, she's wearing a wedding in her hand. Like, you would not have assumed that she was a single mom of 4 kids. You wouldn't have done that.
Right.
So, there's your example, Dave.
That's crazy. Yeah, my goodness. And yeah, just the carte blanche to even take that moment, like you said, she's in one of the most vulnerable moments, and you just like, oh, well, that's
crazy. You run off at the mouth because you don't know what to say.
Right. So yeah, that's the last thing. Like I said, I don't want to harp because we all get mad and go beat up some white people, but I do want. So I want you to. I want you to talk to. No, what'd you say?
John Johnson.
Yeah, that's the homie.
John and I were best friends for like a long time. John and I used to have a song. It was his song, not mine. Like he goes, it's his song, not mine. The song would go, kill the white people. It's literally a song about kill all the white people and the dolphins. Don't ask.
And the dolphins, because those dolphins gotta go. Well, don't worry, no white people watch us, and I don't think any dolphins can get there. I'll just play it, but
listen.
But moving on from that interesting topic, I do want to ask you, if you could start, talking to pregnant women who are going into the situation, like, if it's any one thing, without giving away too much, because they gotta, hire you for those services. But if it's anything that you just want women to know, like, to take with them into the birthing, besides that you can say no, because that's one of the main things that you said. But if you could talk to pregnant women, what would you say to them?
Well, first of all, I would say you need a doula.
You need a doula.
I know you think you don't. I know you think it's an expense that you can go without. You need a doula. In these times of this maternal health crisis we are in, you need someone in your corner who is biased, who is on your side, but can go into the birth room and negotiate. Just like you wouldn't go into a courtroom without a lawyer. Don't go into the birth room without a doula. Right. And also I would recommend to everyone that to take a child birth class and even like a child care class, because we focus so much on the birth.
Right.
And we forget that just like that, you go from a person with a partner to a family with a baby that you now have to care for.
Right.
To keep alive.
Right.
And it's a transition. There's actually a word for it. It's called matrescence. There's a new vocabulary word for you, Dave.
Matrescence. I'm typing it in right now.
Matrescence. It's like the transition from the transition into motherhood, and that transition can be shocking, and it's a thing where you go from what is this, and now you're responsible for this person. Not to mention you're exhausted. So you just were up there for 3 days giving birth to it, and now you have to take care of it. And if you don't have like the background knowledge of like how to care for this person, how to breastfeed it, how to keep it alive, or how to hold it, you should always go to a class before you give birth, because the birth is a big thing, but also now you have to keep this thing alive.
Right. So also child care classes.
Child care classes will definitely help you. And the resources are out there. Like YouTube is a thing.
Yeah. And so many women, I was just gonna say, so many women nowadays kind of lose that connection or have lost that connection between themselves. And because there was a time when you were going to give birth and your mother would just come stay with you for some months and pass all this information, just as she did with some of the other things that are now considered negative gender roles. But anyway, we won't get into all that. But no, but things like cooking and things, stuff like that. But or just things about womanhood and being a woman that parents will pass on, and it's such a break in that connection now that you need, you kind of need classes to a certain extent, and there's even things that weren't taught through that process that needs to be learned through. So yeah, I definitely agree with the necessity of classes, because so many people, I think, like you said, people look at the birthing process and try to learn as much as they can about that, because that's the serious. And I think pain is a great motivator. And so you see how painful it can be, and so you want to learn as much about it so you know what to do and know how to move your hips and all this to get it. But then you see the process of raising a child. You're like, oh, people do that every day. Well, people fail at it every day horribly. And so any information that you can get will be helpful. And it's interesting to me, and I had this conversation with a friend of mine, it had to be a year ago now, where people always be like, well, there's no manual, there's no book that tells you what to do when you raise a child. There kind of are some books out there. There's a lot of books on raising kids.
There are several books, actually.
There's a few of them, and not only books, there are people like doulas and people who teach, child rearing classes with that wealth of knowledge that can help you. So, not saying that it's easy, and not saying that they even have all the answers, but any information in that type of situation seems like it will be helpful. And so that's my 2 cents. But yeah, I was rounded right out to the minute of 12:30. I can say thank you so much. It's always a good time when you come through. We also have our co-host Patrice, who's with us. Sometimes she has things going on too. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna call on you at some point to join us and host with me, because because you are awesome, and I like your your energy. We have good chemistry, so I think that yeah. So I'm gonna hit you. I'll hit you up sometime this week, and we'll talk about it. But until that time, thank you so much again for joining us, for giving us your expertise, your information, for blowing my mind with talking about taking the placenta and the pills. And I'll look into that too. That's I don't want to say I've never heard of it, but it's interesting just to hear somebody who has that wealth of knowledge. Because when you hear something like that, it seems more like something like for lack of a better term, like archaic or barbaric, like practice, like the female circumcision and stuff, like things that they don't really do anymore because it's so right. I mean, like. Well, I mean, but it's more frowned upon, and but there are civilizations that still do stuff like that, but it's more like seen as something. And so, but I guess it's more of the connotations that come with it. Like I said, when you hear like ingesting the placenta, you're like, and that's weird. But taking it in pill form and the benefits that it can actually have, like that's the first time, like you telling me, that's the first time I've ever heard anyone say, other than like the spiritual connection and things like that people draw with it, but to actually have physical ramifications or effects on the quality of your child's life and things like that, that's so interesting. And I think I learned something every time you come hang out with us, so I appreciate that from you.
Let's talk about still days.
Yeah, definitely.
Circumcising these boys, we don't have to do it.
That's the whole thing too. Is like it was So it's a lot going on. That's But anyway, so thank you again. I just keep saying that because you're dope, and it's always good to talk to you. On behalf of myself, Super Dave, aka Mr. Incredible, my co-host Aisha, who's kind of here, I think, and the awesome Erin Clark. Thank you guys so much for checking out another episode of the Neighborish Livecast. We'll be back next week with more information, more education, and more fun. Y'all be safe. Have a good one. And get a doula. Everybody needs a doula. Everybody needs a doula. Get a doula. If you don't have one and you don't know any, holler at Erin. She's available. Where can they find you if somebody needs a doula?
So I'm on Instagram at doula, DOULAEAC. I'm also, you can email me at gmail, doulaeac@gmail.com. I am available. I have a beautiful Instagram page, lots of pretty pictures of me.
Yes. I was looking at Doula EAC. I couldn't think of it because I didn't tag you in the last one. I was going to tag you in the post, and I was like, "Where is it?" I was typing in, Erin Clark, Erin Alex. I was typing in all. That's what I said. I was looking, and I found a bunch of
EAC.
Okay, EAC. Oh, gotcha.
I refer to myself as the EAC. It's a long story. Doula EAC.
Doula EAC. All right. Well, y'all heard it here. Holler at her if you need a doula, and even if you don't holler at her, get a doula. Just have one on retainer like I'm gonna do. And have it ready for when it's time to get one. But y'all have a great week. Take care of yourselves and each other. And peace.